Welcome back to the Shop Mini RC, everybody. I'm Ken, and today we are talking about Mini Z, or more specifically, 1/28 scale on-road racing electronics. We kind of umbrella it all under Mini Z racing, but really Mini Z is Kyosho specific. It's a Kyosho product, Kyosho brand, runs on AAAs, and they're generally brushed motors. A very good entry into the 1/28 scale for somebody newer or for somebody who likes that style of racing, that box stock class type racing. But these electronics are specifically for the next level. We're talking about pan car style chassis where you have to build it yourself. Pretty much no RTRs come built like this. They're all going to be chassis sliders or rollers, and then you have to add your electronics. So with all these guys that have come out recently over the past couple years, and especially with the new Team Associated, I know there's going to be a ton of questions about electronics for 1/28 scale on road. So we're going to try to cover it here. We're not going to cover everything because there is a lot out there. I'm going to try to keep it to the basics for people that are newer. If you are a veteran in this space, this probably won't give you a ton of information that you don't already know. But for somebody who's brand new, who's never ran this style of car, this is going to be an important video for you. Make sure you share it in any groups where you know there's a lot of newer people getting into this kind of racing. We always want to grow the hobby. It's super important to make sure that we have new people always coming in, and the best way to do that is to share information like this with those new people so that they feel comfortable building their cars and getting in there and racing with you guys. Always be inviting guys, always be helping new people, and that's what this video and this channel really is all about, trying to get that information out there and make people feel comfortable. So let's dive into it. Like I said, we're not going to go crazy specific deep in any one particular thing, but we're going to cover ESCs, motors, servos, and then receiver, transmitter setup, sort of. Anyway, let's dive into it. We'll put chapters down below so you can skip around if you want to skip around, but I highly recommend watching the whole thing, especially, again, if you're newer and you are just getting into this space. One of my favorite. We do it every Friday. We race every week, and yeah. Oh, on that note, lucky for us, PN World Cup 2025. This year it's in the US. It's been all throughout the world. Jumps around between countries. I think last year was in France. Year before, I think, was Singapore, if I remember right. Don't remember specifically, but this year it's in Denver, Colorado, specifically Lakewood, Colorado, but our local track, 5280 Raceway. It's going to be awesome. I think tickets have already sold out, so if you're trying to get into this, it might be a little rough. Maybe you can reach out to PN and ask nicely. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's already full. But yeah, definitely something worth watching. We're going to have coverage for this, and so definitely make sure you subscribe to the channel. Subscribe, do that, and that way you know when we have all of our coverage from the PN World Cup this year. Unfortunately, this year, I don't think I'm going to be racing in the World Cup. I'm just going to do coverage. I have a lot of fun hanging out with the guys, and maybe I'm going to run my car on the track because we have a lot of practice sessions leading up to a large track, and so we'll definitely run some cars, but I'm not going to participate in the actual event other than hanging out, recording, interviewing people. There's going to be a lot of manufacturers out there. I know Christian from Reflex and Jose from Xbility are going to definitely be there, so we'll talk to those guys. I believe Marcus Williams from MWX and some of the other guys. Obviously, some of the PN guys are going to be there, so we will do some interviews and get some videos out for you guys to enjoy for those who can't make it. So definitely, like I said, hit that subscribe and that notification bell. That way you know when those videos goes up. Okay? All right, let's dive in. All right, guys, we got some cars here to talk about. We got a few. I'm going to walk through some of this stuff. It's going to be a lot of talking. There's only so much you can really show with electronics. I mean, they are what they are, right? There you go. Electronics. Boom. ESC, receiver, servo, lap, transponder, battery. We're going to touch on batteries. Motor. That's your basics, but there's not a lot to look at there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a lot of different brands that are offered. That way you know what to search for. We're going to talk about the different types of plugs, so you know what kind of plugs you're looking for, stuff like that. I do want to point out, before we start into this too much, there are a lot of different classes for these cars, a lot of different rule sets for these cars. And some of the two biggest ones are obviously PN, right? PN's has their rule set that have all the different class types. And then there is the 28 SRA, which we were involved with very early on. It's actually a Colorado-based organization, and then that got passed on to a new ownership or committee, or however you want to look at that. So those two main organizations are where your rules are going to come from. And then obviously each local track may or may not follow those rules. And some may follow those rules for certain classes, but then other classes, they kind of have their own rules. So I highly recommend talking to your local crew, your local guys, gals, hobby shops, whoever's running your on-road 128 scale program, and find out what their specific rules are or whose rules they follow. Do they follow PN or 28 SRA? We're not going over any AAA classes here. This is all 2S LiPo brushless. Okay, so this can apply to any class that's running 2S LiPo and brushless. Okay, again, there's going to be many different classes within that, but these are by far becoming the most popular amongst the hobby level, the enthusiast level 28 scale racing. I mean, we love the 28 scale. Kyosho Mini Z, everybody kind of gets pulled into this hobby because of the scale bodies, you know, hard bodies similar to this where they're highly detailed. They just look amazing. The AAA is easy to get into, but again, you quickly outgrow that if you have done any kind of racing in the past, or once you start to look for kits to build and high quality materials, like some of these, you know, you're looking at brass, aluminum, steel, carbon fiber, Delrin, you know, real nice materials versus the plastic of the Kyosho. But the Kyosho is nice because they're RTRs. And these guys, you pretty much have to build. There are no RTRs. Although I'm really trying to push some companies to give us an RTR. How cool would it be to have an RTR of this style chassis that's a 2500 LiPo brushless for under $300? Mind you, it's probably going to be a lot of plastic, probably going to not have a lot of carbon fiber or high-end materials, but something that's basically RTR or RTR minus receiver, right? So that somebody can spend $300 and just run it. Really, I think a full RTR is the way to go, and if people want to upgrade from there to their transmitter and receiver, they can. But giving people a brushless 2S LiPo 2500 class RTR hardbody, oh, so good. So good. I think that would get a lot of people in because the only thing right now is that Kyosho Mini Z, and it's a big jump, or not a big jump. They're very different. AAA versus LiPo, very different. Anyway, sorry about all that. I just wanted to kind of preface this with kind of the state of the hobby right now in 128 on-road, and because I'm sure a lot of you are coming from Mini Z, from Kyosho Mini Zs to this, or maybe you are jumping straight into this with the new Team Associated. I think that's going to be a very popular car. That's part of the impetus behind why I'm doing this video, is I know that there's a lot of new people coming in with that car alone because it's a well-priced chassis, and it's from a company that people know that, you know, they may not be in 28 scale. It's one of the first companies that's not a 28 scale company that's diving into 28 scale. So pretty cool. All right, so what I've got here is a good selection of different cars, chassis. Basically, any of this style of car is going to come as a roller or slider. So you're going to need to pick up your tires and all your electronics. The only one that comes with electronics is the new Xbility, which comes with a torque servo, which is awesome. Everything else, maybe the GLs and the Atomics sometimes come with electronics depending on how you pick them up. But generally speaking, you're going to be looking at a slider, and that means you're going to have to add your wheels and tires, or at least tires. Some of these kits do come with wheels, but you're going to have to add your tires, and then your servo, ESC, receiver, motor, battery, and your lap transponder. Now, in 128 scale world, almost exclusively, as far as I know, almost every major organization is running the Easy Lap style transponder. Again, check with your local track. They may be running something a little different, but the Easy Lap is like a $25 transponder, super easy to hook up, plug in, and it works well. And it's just a lot of places use it, so you can take your car from one place to another without having to worry about changing out your transponder. And I know there are some other ones out there, and people do run them, but like I said, definitely check your track to make sure you know which transponder they're using. Now, our batteries on Mini Z, let's go through that first. We have a couple different style battery plugs. I'm going to go through batteries at the end, but I just want to get started. We have this style here, which is a 3-wire, almost like a balance plug. It's a little bit smaller than a balance plug. It's actually a JST PH 3-pin. Traditional balance plug for like a 2S LiPo, where you've got a lead and then the 3 wires, like a lead, 2 wires, 3 wires for your balance. That's going to be a JST XH 3-pin, a little bit larger. So if you're getting any kind of battery, just make sure your plug is correct. JST PH 3-pin, and almost every ESC comes with that style of plug for your battery. Okay. You also can run, which is becoming more popular now, 2mm bullet plugs. So you can solder on new bullet plug pins and run 2mm bolt plugs in a hard case. And again, we'll look at that stuff a little bit later, but I just wanted to get started there that you are going to need a specific style of battery with a specific plug. Now you can always change your plugs out, do it however you'd like. But again, they almost all the ESCs come with that style of plug, JST PH3 pin. Now let's go ahead and talk about transmitters and receivers real quick. Again, I'm not going to go deep because there's a ton of them out there. I use the Noble platform for most of my stuff. There are some other ones. You can see on this example here, these are the plugs for most micro receivers. This plug is a JST ZH. So ZH is the size, and it's a 1.5mm 3-pin. So as long as the transmitter you want to use, whether it's a Futaba, Sanwa, Kyosho KT, Kopropo, Spectrum, FlySky, whatever, even some lower budget options like maybe the Mias or the Dumbo RC or Hot RC, as long as they have receivers that have this JST ZH plug, you're going to have a much easier time, because that's what most of these servos are, if not all, and it's the receiver plug for almost all these ESCs. So again, JST ZH 1.5mm 3-pin is what you're looking for, basically a micro receiver. And you can see we've got a couple different options here. Some are cased, some are decased. It just really kind of depends. Oh, we pulled the receiver off this guy here. Okay, they're almost always 4-channel. Really, we only need 2 channels. And then we usually will take our transponder here and we solder it directly to the positive and negative on the ESC where the battery plugs in. You can also just plug that into an extra channel, but I feel like it's much more reliable. You get a stronger signal when you are basically wired straight into the ESC. I'm trying to find a good example here. You can see here, we're wired straight into the ESC there on the positive and the negative. So positive there, negative there. And then even this one, this ESC, actually I have a ground cable because we live in Colorado where we have high static. You're running rubber tires on a rubber carpet or rubber mats, the RCP mats. And so you end up creating a lot of static electricity, at least up in here, up in Colorado, where we have high altitude and low humidity. So we'll run a ground cable from our negative on our ESC somewhere onto the chassis. You can see here's a better example. Just basically run it right off the ground where a battery plugs in, straight over to somewhere on the chassis. Make sure you scrape off any paint. And then again, our transponder wired straight into the positive and negative there. Okay, so you are gonna have to solder with this stuff. If you can't solder, you're gonna have to find somebody that can solder for you to at least get your, I guess, your transponder, or you can try to plug it in, like I said, to your receiver, and then you don't have to worry about it. But soldering is a huge skill in this space, whether you're soldering transponders, ground cables, changing plugs, your motor wires. That's going to be a big one, having to solder your motor there. Definitely an important skill, and it's super easy to learn once you just kind of jump that hurdle. All right, so again, any transmitter that has a micro-sized receiver. We don't use gyros, so you don't want any receiver that has a gyro in it. Plus, they're a little bit bigger. You don't have a lot of space in there. Some people like to run gyros, or they come from the drift world where gyros are a thing. Like on this little guy, we've got this gyro here for our drifter TS ESC. Runs the same type of battery. Basically, you can run same type of ESC, same type of servo on the drift car's motor, all that stuff. Usually much higher kV motor, and then sometimes the servos are a little bit bigger. This is kind of there's 2 different size servos. This is a larger one. We'll get into that later. But pretty much all the same stuff on the drift cars, just gyros and usually higher kV. And again, they're not race focused, so we'll talk about that later with this ESC as well. Moving on to ESCs, there's a lot of different options out there, okay? You've got the Hobbywing here. This is the Mini 28. This is probably one of the more popular ESCs out there. It's fantastic ESC. These are all gonna be censored ESCs with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 that I'll talk about. But a censored ESC has your 3 wires, A, B, and C, that go to your motor, and then also a sensor wire. So you can see this second plug here. It's an actual plug that has 5 wires in it. They're very small. They're very fragile. You need to be very careful with them. But those help tell the ESC where the position of the motor is in its rotation, and it's able to adjust, and you can get turbo and timing and a whole bunch of stuff out of that to help really boost the performance of the motor. Again, I'm not going to get into turbo and timing and all that different stuff, but just know that you can program that with a lot of these ESCs. Some are easier than others, but that's pretty much a standard in the higher end racing ESCs now. Okay, so some of these you have to use a program card to change for the basic stuff, and some you can use Bluetooth. With this Hobbywing here, you can do either way. There are punch cards, basically the LED cards, where you go to option 5, change it to setting 3. Option 4, change it to setting 2. Your drag brake, your low voltage cutoff, you know, all that type of stuff. But they also have a Bluetooth dongle, and that's going to always be sold separate with the Hobbywings, at least for now. There are another like 50 or 60 bucks for that Bluetooth dongle, but you can swap it around between cars. The Hobbywing Mini 28 is a $99 ESC. And again, it's probably one of the most populars, and it is censored. The next one, which we don't have anymore, I think I sold it or put it in a totally different car, like a crawler or something weird. I think I did a drag truck. Anyway, the Nexx RC Mini 28 Pro censored. That's a $40 ESC. I'll show it over here. And I've heard a lot of good things about that, especially for the price. I mean, it's half the price of pretty much all the other ESCs. The only thing that's even close is the Rocket RC Pro V2 Mini 28, and I believe they're pretty similar. That one's going to be $47. Rocket RC makes motors and ESCs, and they're the OEM for a lot of white labeled and off-brand stuff. So when you see a lot of brands that kind of have their own, you know, it's a brand you wouldn't expect to have their own electronics or something like that. A lot of it goes to Rocket or Hobbywing, and then they will make that brand's ESC or motor. So I know that Rocket does that, a lot of that. I wouldn't be surprised if the NHX stuff is Rocket RC. Same. Different, but same. Reflex Racing also has one. We don't have that guy yet either. This is the top end of the top end. It's the MC1 30 amp censored ESC. You can check it out over here. Tons of awesome specs on that guy. I can't speak on it much because I haven't ran one, but I've heard a lot of good things about that as well. Reflex Racing always doing top of the line stuff, whether it's their chassis or their servos or their ESCs or their customer service. Fantastic stuff there. So definitely check that out if you're interested in the top of the top. You also have GL and Atomic. Yeah, we've got this GL here. This is a GL all-wheel drive coming with this older GL censored ESC. And then we've also got the, where's it at? LMP2 somewhere. Maybe not. I thought I had an LMP2. LMP2 is still upstairs. Either way, that one also has a GL in it, and I've had no problem with my GL ESCs. They've done a lot of different updates. GL has a couple different ESCs, but their newest 32-bit brushless censored ESC is about $90, $89, and it's been a fantastic ESC. They also sell their chassis with that ESC and with their servo as well, so you can kind of get a combo there, which is really nice. Atomic kind of does the same thing. So we've got an Atomic here that is in disrepair. All-wheel drive. They're always broken, it seems. Always breaking the all-wheel drive. It's just my bad driving, to be honest. And they also come with a couple different ESCs. I don't have any of the Atomic ESCs, but I know Atomic fans love the Atomic ESC. And again, you can run it in any car you'd like. They have the mini censored speed control. It's a 24 amp, and it's $79. The Furitek Momentum is next in line, and that's an older ESC. This guy's running it. This is one of my first Reflex cars. I'm running the Furitek Momentum there. And this is a non-censored. This is a sensorless ESC, so you don't have those extra cables. This is a very it's a very budget-friendly ESC, especially the older versions. They do have a V2. It's a little bit more pricey. The V2 is $70, but this is a bit old. This ESC has been fantastic from day one. Now it's not quite as tunable. You can plug in the Bluetooth module. You have to buy that separate. And same with the V2. It just depends on which one you're going with. Some of them come with the Bluetooth module and some do not. Bluetooth module is this little guy here. And there's a couple different versions. We use them in the crawlers too. Some of them are even smaller than this, but you get them like this. They're like 20 bucks, I think, or something like that. And you can plug it into any of the Furitek ESCs. And now you can use the app. The app is amazing. Hands down, my favorite ESC tuning platform ever. I've used the Hobbywing app a little bit, and it's okay, but it pales in comparison to Furitek. I think Furitek's done it right from the beginning when it comes to tuning and the app. It's just amazing. What was I going to point out on this guy? Oh, they do come decased. The V2 comes cased. So some people like to run their ESCs decased. Some run them cased. Some ESCs you can't really decase, like the Hobbywing. That's a very difficult ESC to decase without damaging it. So just be aware of that you do need to have space. A lot of these cars do have a lot of room, but sometimes it's a little tight, and sometimes it's easy to decase the ESC and get a ton more room. So just keep that in mind. And again, Furitek sells all of their ESCs except for the newest one, which is the Micro Boost and the Micro Beast. They sell the Cyclos and the Momentum as cased or decased. So speaking of the Cyclos, that's basically the ESC that came after the Momentum. Cyclos was a fantastic ESC. I did have some issues with some censored stuff early on where it would heat up the motor a lot, but I believe they got that fixed. And the newest Cyclos, and again, they come as a cased or decased. They come with Bluetooth or not Bluetooth included. You can't run any cars with Bluetooth on them. So you can't have the Bluetooth active while you're running in most class rules because they don't want you changing car settings while you're out on the track. So you have to have removable Bluetooth dongles from the cars so that, you know, they can check it and be like, okay, there's no Bluetooth on that car. So Furitek is good about offering the car with or without the Bluetooth module as a package deal, which is really nice. So the Cyclos can run anywhere between $55 all the way up to $99. Next, you have the Micro Beast, which is the newest, and the Micro Boost. So the Micro Boost is this guy here, and this is a wild ESC. It's really more meant for the drift guys just because it's got the screen and there's some cool features when it comes to lights. It actually has an LED out here for a backfire light or potential brake light, and then our motor even lights up kind of with the throttle, which is really cool. Super cool from a scale standpoint. For racing, you probably don't need all the bling bling, but some people might like it and some people might not care, or they like the ease of use. This actually has an LED screen that lights up, and you can change all your settings with this. There's a little switch back here it's got a left or right and a press in, and you can kind of go through all your settings that you could imagine. I mean, you could change your boost, your timing, everything all on there. It's even got RPM gauges and your voltage, so you can see your voltage there right on the screen. I've got a full deep dive in this. I'll throw it right over here. You can check it out where we talk about this and the motor, and we show everything about it. It's a very cool ESC. This guy runs $90, which is pretty crazy when you consider it's cheaper than the Hobbywing, and it's got more tunability than the Hobbywing. The same thing as this, but without the screen. So really the race version, which I don't have, unfortunately. We're waiting on one, but we're talking about the Micro Beast. And it's the same ESC as this, just no screen and no LED output for the light. It's basically straight up race version. It's $80. And again, it's got that Bluetooth module you could plug in. It comes with it. You can use your phone to tune all that, which is super sick, super awesome. And that's pretty much going to be it for ESCs. Oh, here's a Cyclos as well. There's an older Cyclos. So you can see that comes cased or decased depending on how you want it. I think one of these other cars is also running a Cyclos. Where's that? This guy here? Yeah, this is a decased Cyclos. In our mod car. This is our mod Reflex SE. Okay, so that's pretty much all we've got on ESCs. There's a lot of good options out there. I mean, I haven't heard anything really bad about any of the ones I've mentioned, or I would have told you. Pretty much everybody that's run them has kind of liked them. It's just a matter of how much tunability they have and how deep you want to go. If you really want kind of the standard, you're looking at stuff like the Mini 28, potentially the new Furitek. Again, it's newer. The race version, not necessarily this version. Again, this is more for drift, but the new Micro Beast. The tunability on these two is just out of this world. Again, the Reflex is going to be another top tier. I can't speak on it. Like I said, I don't have one, but you know, it's Reflex. So definitely going to be a good ESC. I'm sure it's proven, and you know, we'll see when World Champs come up what the cars are that are winning and what they're running. And again, make sure you stay tuned. We're going to cover all that. So you'll get a good idea of kind of what the winning cars builds are looking like. All right, let's go ahead and move to motors real quick. Not a lot to show on motors. Again, I'm just going to kind of run through the list of different motors. Right here, we've got a Rocket RC right here. Again, this is a very good budget option for somebody looking to save some money. Both the ESC and the Rocket motors are well priced. It's $39 for this. It's the 1525 series, censored series. They run from 3,500 kV all the way up to 6,800 kV. For some reason, the new Rocket censored motors, the censorless ones have a 2500, but for some reason the censored ones do not have a 2500, which is odd to me because that's a very, very popular class. Actually, multiple classes run 2500s, F1 and some of the other just different classes. They're all 2500. So it kind of surprises me. There's a lot of companies not doing 2500s right now, which makes no sense to me. There's also Ensotech, which I don't have. It's the S-Wave ZM V3 censored. They have a 35, 45, 55, 6500, no 25s, and those are only $50. Then we have the Hobbywing Easy Run. I'm not running that on any of these cars, but that's a little bit bigger motor. It's a 1626 size motor. They have 3500s, 4000s, 5000s, 6500s, and again, no 2500s, which is odd, but it's a censored motor, and it's to be $69 to $70. Next, you'd be looking at the GL motors. The GL censored motors are 2500, which is good. all the way up to 6,800. So 25, 35, 45, 55. They have a 6,000, a 6,800. Oh, and excuse me, they have an 8,500. You're probably not going to use that in these, but drift guys definitely use a larger motor. Also, maybe if you're running an all-wheel drive, you usually run a higher KV motor in an all-wheel drive mod car and just take your pinion way down. And you have a ton more torque and granularity in your throttle and whatnot. So that's a good option for something like that. 8,800 is still a lot, so I probably wouldn't do that. Most common classes are going to run 2,500 and 3,500, with your mods running usually 4,500 to 6,500, depending on how much speed you really want. Really, it comes down to driving in mod, not necessarily 4,500 or 6,500. I've seen 4,500 kV cars smoke 6,500 kV cars just because they're a better driver. The GL motors, again, I don't know if I mentioned, $49, which is going to be the same price as the Mini Z PN Racing V4 Anima censored brushless motors. Again, unfortunately, I don't have one of those on any of these cars, so I can't exactly show it, but we'll throw some pictures over here. We have a lot of Furitek motors because I love Furitek motors. They're fantastic. So I'll be transparent. Furitek and I have a great relationship, and yeah, their motors are fantastic. I've never had an issue with the motor. So speaking of that, Furitek, they have their Hellfire motor. They have the V1s, which are these guys here. And they ranged anywhere between 2,500, 4,500, 5,500, and 7,500. However, I can't find the 2,500s anywhere on the site. I think they may be sold out. We're waiting for a new production. I'm not sure, but they do come centered. And then the newest version, like I said, has this little light up situation here. This little plate lights up. It really doesn't take up any extra space on the motor. I didn't notice any heat difference on the motor, but again, it's not a performance gain. It's strictly a scale kind of fun gain that the motor kind of lights up red and bright. This little white plate turns red. And so that's pretty cool. But 3,500, 4,500, and 5,500 on that motor. And price on these guys is going to be at $59.99 on these guys. The non-lit ones are like $54, $55, something like that. So $5 more for the light. But again, you don't necessarily have to run it with racing. But it's a cool option. And then next we're going to talk about servos. Now there's a decent amount of servos, not quite as many as motors and ESCs, but a good amount of options. And so GL has a bunch of different servo options. Their newest servos, which are titanium gear servos, they are kind of like this guy here, I believe is the GL003 DMG. This is one of the newer servos. They're running anywhere between $50 to $60 for these little micro servos. And most of the servos are going to be right in that same price range. The most common spline on all the servos is a 20T. So just know that the servo horn on your car that you're going to be building is likely a 20T servo horn. Some of the servos come with 15T splines, which is not a good thing. So just be aware when you're picking up your servo that it's a 20T. And again, most of the servos, especially the ones I'm going to talk about now, are going to be 20T servos. That includes the Reflex, the AGFRC V1, and specified V2s. And then like the GL servos, the Torque servos, I believe even the Atomics, I'm not 100% on them. We don't have any Atomic servos, unfortunately, but the PN, all that kind of stuff, a lot of them are all going to be that 20T. So AGFRC is pretty much the main manufacturer of a lot of the servos, even like the Reflex servo is not a rebranded AGFRC, but it is an AGFRC manufactured servo, but it's to Reflex specs. So Reflex is going to have specific specs that they want for that servo, and Torque is going to be similar, and some of the other ones. Again, there's only so many manufacturers out there, but the servos are going to differ just in their specs, so make sure you dive deep into the specs if you're looking for something specific. But again, AGFRC, one of the most common out there. They have two different servos. They have a larger one, which is this guy here, the A11CLS. This is a V3. It's a little bit thicker. It's the same width, but it's thicker. And you can see this specific Nexx servo. This is the Nexx Spectre servo. It sits nice and flush. They lowered it to get the center of gravity lower and get us that larger servo in there. That guy's going to be like $46. The AGFRC A06CLS V1s and V2s are going to be about around $60. And they are probably, again, the most common. They're these purple servos that you see all the time. And pretty much what everybody uses when it comes to an Amazon servo. There's one in here too. This is the black version though. You can pick these up on Amazon, so it's super convenient. But it is good to support small hobby businesses that are specific in the niche that you enjoy and love. And that's why I like supporting companies like Torque, GL, Atomic, Reflex, all those guys, because they are helping grow the hobby. So the next one up, like I said, is going to be Torque, which is this guy here. Comes with the new kit from Xbility, the XBOne, and the TCM 1003. This guy right here. Torque makes a bunch of different servos. I use them in my crawlers, and they're fantastic. I've got no issues with the Torque servos. They have the TCO1, which is very similar to the TCO3, except the TCO3 has the proper plug versus the TCO1 has a plug for the microcrawlers. So it's got the typical Futaba style plug. We also have Atomic. Atomic's got their HV1820 MG race spec servo. It's going to be at $56. And then the Reflex servo, the RRE 0007 Reflex HV Mini Digital Servo is $70. And that guy is hiding under here, underneath my transponder. And that's a fantastic servo as well. One of the nice things about the servos that kind of share manufacturers is if you strip a servo gear in the like the AGFRC or the Reflex or the Torque, you can buy a replacement servo gear for any of them and it'll work in any of them. So it's easy to carry parts in your bag to fix a servo if it breaks, or find somebody that has extra parts from a broken servo and you can kind of piecemeal it together to fix your servo, because we do repair these servos. They are pricey, and so getting in there and being able to open them up and swap out gears if you chip a tooth is super important. So having a rebuildable servo is a huge benefit. We also have the Anima from PN. That's the HSTG servo, another fantastic servo. They do have a new V4 of that, right around $60. Again, they're all pretty much the same price, $10 here or there. Last is an OMG servo. Again, we don't have one, but I'll show it on the screen over here. It's really more of a drift servo. It's a larger, thicker servo, kind of like that 11, the guy that's on here, that A11 CLS, but it is an option if you're needing that thicker servo for some reason. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to batteries a little bit here. There's a ton of different battery options. I'm only going to show some of them and some of the more popular ones that I've used. Again, we've got a lot of PNs here. There's a PN 385. The PN 360, you're almost always going to be looking at about 350 milliamp hours up to 400. I think I've seen a 420 being ran by somebody at one point, some brand. I don't remember the brand, but yeah, there are some options out there. Here's a Goanang. I don't even know where this battery came from. Honestly, GN3 LiPo. I've been running it in this car for a while. I don't know where this battery came from, honestly, but I've been running it in my mod car, and it's been fantastic. I've had no issues. We also have some GensAce batteries. I really love the GensAce batteries. They are 360 and 400 milliamp hour soft packs. Fantastic batteries. I don't think Reflex is making their soft packs anymore, but they were also 350 size batteries. I think all of the Reflex batteries are now basically hard packs. We have a Reflex in there, and I don't remember what this one is. That's also a Reflex in there. The Reflex batteries have been fantastic. I haven't used their hard pack yet, but from everything I hear, it's amazing. It's a high voltage pack, so you can go above the normal 4.2 volts per cell and get a little bit of extra juice. Just know that in a spec class that's not mod or open class, you're gonna have to meet a certain voltage. You can't overcharge. It can cause issues. You'll get disqualified and stuff like that. Now, your local club, maybe they don't care, but you will have an unfair advantage. Everybody should be charging to the same 4.2 volts per cell, 8.4 volt max. And the high volt packs, the hard packs, will let you go higher because, again, they're high voltage lithium. So just be aware of that. And here are some batteries just that we don't have in cars, so you can see. Again, there are other options for different plugs. You can see this GensAce actually has a traditional sized balance plug on it, same as like a normal 2S battery, versus this smaller plug here, which is, again, it's a balanced plug, but it's the smaller version. You've got the JST XH for the full-size balance plug, and then the JST PH for the smaller size. And again, a lot of these batteries don't run leads. You don't need a regular power lead because there's not enough amperage going through here. As long as you're below like 2 amps, you can basically run the same cables as you would run on your balance. So you can save space, you can save weight, all that kind of stuff. Here's a microDeans plug. Those are available out there if you want to swap over everything to a microDeans. There's a couple different plug options. Some people still use the red JST, like this guy. But I really just like these. It's easy. It's what the ESCs usually come with, and it works, no problems. The new hotness, however, are these hard packs. The hard packs, again, are higher voltage, 7.6 volts versus like the 7.2. Max charge on is 8.4, and I think max charge on these is 8.6. So yeah, basically little hard packs, which is really cool because it's similar to the 10th and 12th scale world. They are 2mm bullet plugs. Reflex was the first to really do this. I don't have any Reflex batteries, but GensAce now has these, a 400, which is a little bit wider, and a 340, which is just a tiny bit taller, but much more thin. So it just depends on the car you're running. Pretty much any car can run like a 340 to 360 size battery, no problem. Not every car can fit the 400s or 420s, depending on who what build it is, what chassis it is. A lot of the larger batteries, the 400 plus batteries, are usually ran in the all-wheel drives because they're much higher kV, a lot more moving parts. They drain batteries much faster. But anything, again, between like a 340, 360, you're going to be fine for most of your two-wheel drive 98mm sized cars, which is what these are. These are all 98mm. There is also the LMP class, which is 102mm. But again, talk to your local club about what classes they run. For these batteries, the bullet plug batteries or the normal plugged batteries, you are going to need to be able to charge them on your standard charger. Usually that requires having something that's got like an XT60 or banana plugs and then a balance cable plug. And so you plug both those in, and then you can balance charge your hard case, or you can balance charge your soft case. Now, I love these little adapters. Basically, you're just running your positive and your negative to your positive and negative on the balance here. So if you wanted to make one of these, you basically grab one of these cables, and you match your black to your black, your red to your red, and then solder those together, and then you end up coming out just like this with your black lead, red lead, and you're able to charge. I love using this on like my crawler batteries. Any small 2S, again, it's under basically 2 amps. So you can run like a 2000 milliamp 2S battery, just plug it in. Regardless of the lead, bam, good to go. Now again, this cable here, I've swapped over some of the plugs. So I've got both the PH and the XH. This is my desk charge adapter. I have one that I travel with when I go to race nights, and it's also got my micro Deans on there as well. So I've got a PH, an XH, and a micro Deans all on that adapter. And you can pick these up from different places. I believe Wolfram RC has them, Micro RC Syndicate probably has them, Ken and Hobby probably has them, maybe even Direct RC has them. A ton of different places to pick these up. But again, you're basically just looking for an XT60 to JST-PH. That's the converter you're looking for. Some of them come just 1-to-1, some of them come with 3. Now the reason they come with 3 is because you can balance charge these 3 batteries all at the same time on the same outlet. Now you got to be careful. You got to make sure that all your batteries are the same when you're doing it. So you can't be charging this and this and this. That would be a super bad idea to charge these 3 batteries all at the same time on here, because it's treating the battery as if it's all in parallel. Okay, so it doesn't know the size of each battery. So you want to make sure they're all the same batteries, same voltage when they start. So a lot of times when we race, the battery voltages all drop to about the same voltage. So I can plug in multiple batteries because they're all the same voltage and they're all the same milliamp hours, and I can charge them at 2 or 3 times the rate, just to help charge things all at once. Now, you got to know what you're doing. I wouldn't recommend charging multiple batteries if you don't really fully understand what I just said. Maybe do some more research. But even if you don't use all 3 of these, you can do what I've done on multiple different adapters where you swap out the plug end. That way you can charge one battery or a different battery with a different plug end, or a third battery with a different plug end, just charging one at a time. But you have the different plug adapters if you have different plug ends for some reason. Anyway, if you're racing and you do a race program, you probably are going to be running all the same plug ends for all your batteries. So you can run with just a single, or get one of these triples and then charge all 3. Again, if you understand the risks involved with charging 3 batteries on the same port. All right, anyway, let's go ahead and move on. So I do want to point out with the receivers that you can run a full-size Futaba style plug if you really want to. The only thing is you have to make sure that your ESC can plug into it, and you have to make sure that your servo can plug into it. So this servo happens to have a traditional style plug. we actually have an adapter for our, actually we're using an adapter for the servo, excuse me. So our servo did come with the regular or the small plug, the micro, and we're using an adapter just because this particular car, again, we're running this receiver, and I wanted to be able to also show you that you can run this full size. Now it's not ideal. Again, it takes up a lot of space. You can see there's a huge difference in the space it takes up compared to one of the micro receivers just because of the plug size, right? So that's the main difference. But if for some reason you're adamant about running a specific receiver, you've got a nice small receiver that can handle it, fitting into your car, you can get adapters, you can get servos that have that plug in, and you can always swap out your ESC plug or use an adapter for that as well. Okay, just wanted to point that out. I think we pretty much wrapped it up, so let's go ahead and close out the video. Well, there we have it, ladies and gents. I hope you learned something with the video. I know it's kind of long. I like to talk a lot. That's why I have a YouTube channel, but I tried to make sure I covered as much as I could without having to go too deep into any specific brand or product. I hope you got a good feel for it and what you might need to build one of these cars out and where to look at least. You know, there's tons of different manufacturers out there, and at least now you have some names. They all pretty much work together. They're all pretty compatible. You can put pretty much any motor with any ESC. The Mini 28, I don't know if they fixed this yet, but the Mini 28 Hobbywing ESC does require a censored motor. At least it did when I last have been running them. You know, I haven't updated anything. So it wasn't able to run a sensorless motor on that specific ESC. So just make sure if you're getting a censored ESC, you probably want to pair it with a censored motor as well. There's no reason not to. It's just it makes the car run better. Some people do like to try to run censored ESCs on sensorless motors, though, because they feel like they get more speed out of it. But realistically, you're probably not going to notice a difference unless you are a pro driver. I would just try to get matching pairs when it comes to censored versus sensorless. Again, the brand doesn't really matter. Same with servos. You can get any brand servo, any brand receiver. They all kind of mix and match as long as your plugs are correct. So again, I hope this helps somebody. I know there's a lot of people out there. If you got any questions, definitely put it down in the comments below. Speaking of down below, there is a description there. In that description, we have a link to our Discord. Make sure you join that Discord if you want to be part of a chat community where you can ask questions, show off your builds, get questions answered. Talk to me. I like to hang out in there a lot. And again, it's just a great community. A lot of people that are very helpful in there, whether it's for mini Z or small scale racing to micro Bs, micro Ts, mini Ts, off-road racing to crawling and just anything else. Even got 3D printing guys in there, a little chat section for people doing 3D printed parts for their crawlers or race cars or whatever. Anyway, awesome community. Definitely worth checking out in the description below, the Discord. Also, huge shout out to all of our channel members. These guys really help keep this channel going. They are our biggest supporters, and I appreciate them a ton. They get to see these videos early before anybody else. They also get priority comment replies. They have a special channel in that Discord where they kind of all hang out in that cool kids club. They also, if they're the top tier level, they get stickers sent out every month as a censored brushless member. So that's pretty cool. If you want some stickers, that's one way to get them, and it helps support the channel in the best way possible. If you can't be a channel member, I totally understand. Just clicking that subscribe button, it's a simple thing to do. It's just a click and it means the world to me, but that is one of the better ways to also support the channel, as well as sharing this content with anybody that might be interested. If you know somebody who's new to the micro and mini RC world, I cover everything. So definitely have a video out there for them. Just got to share our channel with them and let them know we are here. That being said, thank you for your time. Thank you for your watching. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, we like to do a thing where we ask people to put down in the comments below something. Let's go ahead and put "don't fry them" in the comments below. With all your new electronics, don't mess up, don't fry them, but don't be scared to do it. Don't be scared to jump into the hobby. We all make mistakes, but at least in the small scale, it's generally not too expensive if you break apart. Electronics, however, I guess they're still pretty pricey, but it is what it is. But don't fry them, guys. Don't fry your electronics in your new car. All right, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. I hope you've hung out and made it all the way to the end. Get out there and do something awesome, guys. Help support the hobby itself. Build a car, build a course, build a community. Those three things. Get out there and build something. It's all about bringing people together in the hobby. That's why we started the channel. We wanted to make sure that people had a place to go to find information, and they knew they could ask questions. So make sure you are approachable as best as possible. Bring an extra car for somebody to borrow. Get that controller in somebody's hands. Again, build a car, build a course, build a community. The three most important things in this hobby outside of just enjoying it yourself. And then Smash it, crash it, and bash it. But don't break the expensive parts. Peace.